That's the original story. What we really did is we attempted to create the beginning of the myth, so to speak, where you relive the experience of Batman seeing his parents murdered, and what fortified him to drive on to dedicate his life towards setting things right. I think the fact that he was fought for the truth and was a defender of the people, and was a character who by day was one way and by night had a whole other different style, and I loved the action and the kind of hard edge of the character. Because it's an emotional, wonderful story about a wonderful character, a love story, an adventure, and it's a wonderful movie that just makes you feel good at the end of it.
The lineage of Batman, of course, is 50 years. And the movie lineage is almost 10 years. It almost parallels our partnership, John and myself. It was one of the initial projects that were brought into the company way before there was even Goober Peters. There was Goober and there was Peters, but there wasn't Goober Peters. And we acquired the property with our own funds and began developing it. And as we moved along in our career and our company, it was one of the locomotives, one of the creative projects that we most believed in, that we felt would find its time and its moment to come alive. And this past year has been the realization not only of a 10-year partnership, but of a project that was there at the inception. And so it's quite exciting. Well, essentially a project that's of that scope and magnitude had to have all the elements, but the principal element that had to be there was the script. When all is said and done, with a fancy direction and a wonderful cinematography and terrific production design, what's on the screen is the script. And the script had been fashioned over a lengthy period of time. It had been tested against every possible method of examination. John and myself were Batman fanatics for many, many years, certainly during our childhood. We often talked about it. As a matter of fact, when Superman was being made, we were total aficionados of that, too. The real question is that this was a chance to do a human hero, somebody who was from this planet and who, given the right circumstances, could become larger than life. And we were excited about that. So that was really the genesis of our excitement.
The reason Batman attracted me was I love extreme characters, and I love the idea of a man who dresses up like a bat versus a man who's literally turned into a clown, you know. Two good characters there. It's always important to me with these kind of extreme characters to surround them in a setting, you know, which they belong. So I always like to think of sets as an extension of the characters. And you know, there are very few great movie cities, and you know, I think both Anton, the designer, and myself, you know, we both so much don't want to. It looks like Blade Runner. It looks like this or that. You know, we wanted to make it a unique place not make it too futuristic, not make it too period, you know, really jumble it up in the sense that it could be it feels as if it's the present, and yet it could be any time. Jack is a very intuitive actor, and he gets into character, and he gets into character well before you start shooting, and so that by the time he walks onto the set, he feels very clear and strong about the character. So when you're shooting, it's great because that's when you toy around with the levels of how broad to go. And I mean, there was always a question, how much do you laugh? You know, I mean, are people going to go nuts hearing this laugh all the time? So, we tried it always a couple of different ways. And since he's so strong with the character, you can play a bit. So it was quite fun, all of that.
The most interesting aspect, maybe, which is the reason the character has had such strong staying power, is the fact that he is not a superhero, that he is, in fact, a human being. The difference in a movement like this and a movement like this, in this kind of movie, the way it was lit, what it's supposed to mean, the difference between those two movements could be huge. So it was a quick lesson in how to simply move your body, use your voice, pull things in just when you think you should maybe be larger. I had to quickly learn how to adjust to what the whole picture was. In this movie, I was at once a participant and a spectator all the time. I was constantly, I'd be watching things happen, and I watched very few dailies, but the few that I watched, I found myself saying, this is amazing, watching this movie, and then I realized, wait a minute, that's me in the movie. I kept forgetting I was actually in the movie.
Usually they've just flown into the movie. Do you know what I mean? And you don't really know much about my character. So yeah, she's a photographer, and she has a purpose, and she's in Gotham to learn about bats. So yeah, I have a purpose. She has a beginning and a background, and you know where she came from, and you know eventually where she's going to end up. So yeah, she was a lady with a purpose, and she's spunky and feisty and determined to get what she wants, and she's a great character. I really enjoyed her every day, waking up and having to, discover what mess she and Batman were going to get into today, or what she would have to deal with as far as the Joker and all those menacing characters, what all they had to offer. With any day, any time he called me, any day of the, I'd start tomorrow morning on a film that if he had something to do with it, with never having read it, because I came in on this rather late, and I met him, and instantly the two of us sort of took off flying together, like two bats, okay? Batman is not. It's a psychological drama. I'm really taking the words out of Tim Burton's mouth, because it really is the Phantom of the Opera of the 80s. It's three psychological characters who all somehow need each other at this time and purpose in life. And I think the audiences are in for a huge surprise, because it's a drama with a lot of comedy, and I think you'll find yourself inside one character or another. It's just who.
I mean, you watch him in Clean and Sober, and you're seeing a powerful performance. And I think the question between Bruce Wayne and you got to talk about Bruce Wayne. See, I think it's a mistake to talk about Batman. I think you have to talk about Bruce Wayne, who is the character. Bruce Wayne is a guy who he's playing with, as it's been explained, too much on his plate. His mind's in 1,000 ways. He can't focus. He's taking care of this, this, and the other. He's got a mind here, and he's all over the place until it comes to crime, and then it's like everything comes to here, and it's like right there, and it's like he may be all over the place, but when it comes to that, he has few words. It's like traditional hero. It's like, no, now, I'm after you. It's almost like Make My Day.